I'm ready. So I started being in the fitness realm of some sort back when I was a kid. My father was a martial artist. My father's father was also a martial artist as well, so that was definitely passed on to me when I was 6 or 7 years old. Specifically, they were learning a lot of Wing Chun, and so the main thing for general strength conditioning for us was push-ups. So at the age of 6, I was trying my hardest to do push-ups as best as I can while my father is cranking out like 40 or 50 of them just next to me in the middle of the night. So that was my first experience of fitness. Now, fast forward to right around middle school was when I was interested in getting six-pack abs. I used to have six-pack abs when I was a kid. Just whatever I had, and I was lean enough to do so, but then puberty hit and I ate a little too much. So I wanted to get six-pack abs back. And that's when I went on YouTube for the first time and searched up how to get six-pack abs. And during that time, in around 2012 era, was when six-pack shortcuts was a huge thing with Mike Chang. And that was the first YouTube channel that popped up. So what did a 12-year-old kid do? Well, watch those videos to the T and become very, very hyper obsessed with it. The idea of fitness and the idea of the ability for me to change my body through 5-minute workouts, 10-minute workouts, whatever the case would be. And I saw some results, as a kid would see some results from just actually moving and using their energy and being able to actually exercise for a duration of that time. And what I did, instead of just doing the 5-minute workout and then calling it a day, I would do the 5-minute workout twice or 3 times. Or I would find like 15 different videos and I would do them all at once from six-pack shortcuts. And so that's how I got started in my fitness journey, is doing six-pack shortcut workouts. I guess we can call them now HIIT training, because essentially that's what it was. It was high intensity interval training. You have an exercise that's super intense, and then you combine that with a super intense exercise, no rest, and you just keep going for a duration of time. So that was my first introduction to fitness. Fast forward to about high school era was when the high school weight room was a thing. And I, for the first time, can touch a barbell, touch dumbbells, touch exercise equipment that I've never had. The only thing that I had home at the time was oil cans and broomsticks. So when there was an exercise that involved the barbell, I would use my 2 broomsticks that were attached to 2 oil cans or oil buckets. Those, I forgot what the company is. Essentially the yellow 20-pound oil bucket things that you could fill with water or whatnot and have weight against you. So that was going to be my second introduction to fitness, was the high school weight room. And from there, at the age of 13, 14, I started to get into the powerlifting scape. That was also the time when I was really into YouTube fitness. So back then there was Athlete X, there was Omar Esoff, there was Brian Alsruhe, there was Alan Thrall, there was all these names that were starting to get popular in YouTube. And I was watching them through the whole time. Hodge Twins was also big at the time as well. So my primary influence was Omar Esoff, because he was the one that really allowed me to think about powerlifting, power bodybuilding at the time when they coined it that way. And all of those fitness trends, the ass chest, that's what he would have. So the most pointing fact about it was that I was doing powerlifting very, very hard during my sophomore year of high school, 14 years old. And at the time I was actually doing track as well. But what I noticed was my times during sophomore year was drastically slower than when I was in freshman year. Freshman year, I was 13 years old, I didn't really do much of the barbell stuff, I was just watching videos. And so then once I got into the weight room and I hit it really hard, a lot of sets of like 5 and 10 for the squats and deadlifts, lots of sets of 10 and just high rep volume for the bench. My times got drastically slower in sophomore year. So that made me phase out of track and field because I was discouraged, and I continued being in the weight room. Partially also because I love that feeling of just muscles being pumped. I love the feeling of being just one with the weights and nothing else you're focusing on. I low-key have a little bit of ADHD. My wife tells me I have that tendency, so it allowed me to really focus on one task very, very well. And it was heaven. It felt like heaven every time I lifted a weight. And then I kept lifting weights until 16 years old, when about 2015, when I saw Omar Esau for the first time attempt Olympic weightlifting. I think the coach name was Brian. And they were doing tutorial videos of how to do snatch and clean jerk. And I was very interested in doing snatch and clean jerk for the first time as well. It looked really cool. The barbell's moving, and it looked like something that, I guess the Olympic people do back when I was 15 years old. That's what I thought at the time. So I started doing Olympic weightlifting off of those YouTube videos. I'd go into the high school weight room. I'd try to use the school Wi-Fi to look at a little bit of the YouTube videos. Back then, the high school Wi-Fi was really, really bad. So it would buffer every few minutes. And that's me trying to lift weights. I'm just gonna go ahead and put a couple videos of me snatching and clean jerking with skate shoes, high boot socks or crew socks, and ultimately just try to figure it out. So at that point in time, my algorithm for YouTube started to feed me more Olympic weightlifting stuff because I was getting very obsessed with it. So phasing out of Hodge Twins and Athlete X and into Juggernaut Training Systems from Max Ada, Zach Talender, Catalyst Athletics, and just all the folks that were into weightlifting, and a little bit across the videos too, but mostly I hanged on to Max Ada and Zach Talender at the time. And that's when I started to really, really accelerate my ability to do Olympic weightlifting, especially when I got into undergrad in college. So I just was able to lift every single day in college. I was able to be very, very hyper obsessed with it. I would spend like 3 or 4 hours in the gym just snatching and clean jerking 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I remember in the morning I would eat like a 2,000 calorie breakfast and immediately walk to the gym and just start snatching, clean jerking, maxing out and screaming on top of my lungs for it, because at the time too, the Chinese team, Olympic weightlifting team was very, very popular, thanks to Hook Grip and All Things Gym. So I was watching that as I was screaming my ass off while lifting weights. And you can probably see in the old YouTube videos at the time, back in 2017 to 2019, that's how I lifted. And obviously I did very well for what I was able to do. So yeah, that hyper obsession carried all the way through, when I was in physical therapy school as well. So I was getting my doctorate of physical therapy back in 2020, and during lecture I would still watch All Things Gym and Hook Grip videos, and still train 6 days a week, 3 to 4 hours each session, being able to just hammer training. And part of the joke that I say to people when they ask me about what I learned from my degrees was, especially undergrad, I learned more about strength and conditioning through YouTube than the classes itself. Obviously, there was a lot of good merit to the exercise science degree that I did when in undergrad, but there was a lot of cardiovascular training. There was a lot of general concepts that I've already kind of looked at too. I forgot to mention at the time, I was also into the literature of strength and conditioning, not reading it, but listening to it. Folks like Strength Theory, or I guess, I don't remember what the actual name of it now, but Grant Nuckols, that's the author of the Strength Theory, Strength Through Mind, I forgot what his name is. But barbell medicine was a huge thing as well. And so those two combined, and then the podcast that Omar Yusof and the other coach from New Zealand did too was something that I listened to a lot. I also listened a lot to Joshua Gibson from the Philosophical Weightlifting podcast. A lot of podcasts about just strength conditioning research and being able to understand reps and sets. And there's also videos from Juggernaut Training Systems too that were 2-hour-long videos on strength conditioning. And I meticulously took notes from those videos. It was actually more notes that I took off of one video versus any video that I watched during school. So that's how hyper-obsessed I was in weightlifting, and obviously it brought me to the success enough to be able to snatch 143, clean jerk 170, clean 176, and squat okay weight, so 212, front squat 186, deadlift 250, at a body weight of around 79 to 82, give or take. So being that I was still very hyper obsessed with Olympic weightlifting, there was an event that really changed that in my life and made me turn around and think about other things to be hyper obsessed with. And so one of the few things that happened was I dislocated my shoulder for the first time in 2022. I think that was in May of 2022. And I, for the first time, had to really think about whether I want to continue Olympic weightlifting or not. At the time, in May, I really wanted to, so I quickly tried to get back up to full strength for snatch and clean jerk, and I re-dislocated it again in August on the same exact day in 2022, so 12 weeks after my first dislocation. And that really set me back. That set me back a lot, and I had a lot of fear in snatch and clean jerk, just putting things over my head. So for the first time in a long time, I had to stop Olympic weightlifting. I went to just squat my face off for a full year. And that's when I started to meet my wife, and we started dating in 2023. And so I tried to pick up Olympic weightlifting again after 1 year of squatting my face off. But unfortunately, as time goes by, it was definitely very hard for me to get back into the groove of things. I still had a lot of fear overhead, and I was still having issues trying to figure out what my overhead position is and being able to stabilize the bar over my head. And so fast forward to right now, where I am now just training 3 times a week and maybe an hour or so more. Hour and a half per session. Maybe the 4th day will be like half an hour if I can't squeeze it in. And that's what I do in Olympic weightlifting now. And so now that is on the back burner. Going back to what I talked about with my wife, I started dating my wife in 2023. We got married in 2025, and we bought a house shortly after, and we are expecting a child soon in the next few months. So going back to the topic of hyperobsession with Olympic weightlifting, what did I learn from the 10 years that I have in the sport? Well, if I didn't do this sport, then I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be able to do the numbers that I did. I wouldn't be able to meet great people in the Olympic weightlifting space. I wouldn't be able to meet my beautiful wife, because the reason why my wife and I got together was she moved to Connecticut and was looking for an Olympic weightlifting coach. And the owner at the time that she went to, or the gym owner that she went to at the time, recommended me. And so she went into Rebels Weightlifting Club and was able to meet me and my assistant coach at the time. She worked with my assistant coach at the time, and then she moved to me, and we were able to start talking. We had a lot of good connections with each other. We were able to talk about a lot of different things in weightlifting, in life, and stuff. And so we started dating in 2023. So therefore I wouldn't have my beautiful wife as well, and I wouldn't be able to have such an amazing house, and I wouldn't be able to have a future child coming up in the next few months. So I am very grateful for Olympic weightlifting being in my life, and I was very grateful that I was very hyper obsessed with it. Excuse me, being very, very hyper obsessed with it, because the successes that I got in there allowed me to be here today. So that leads me to what I'm hyper obsessed with now. So weightlifting is going to be in the back burner. My time is focusing on making sure my wife is okay, making sure that our family is going to be okay, and making sure that the house that we are in is okay as well. So my focus is going to be more towards that, and there might be some future vlogs and videos about that itself. And ultimately, weightlifting is going to be on the back burner. So, I mean, yes, I might be posting a lot of Olympic weightlifting content. I'm still going to train. But like what I said before, maybe I've said this, but I am only training 3 times a week or 4 times a week. That's it. Maybe an hour or 2 each. And that is my time to just lift some weight. Ultimately, I have a little bit of ADHD, and you probably figure it out in this video, but I need that weightlifting time to really help me focus. So that is it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed listening to me rant about my life and what I learned in Hyperobsession in Olympic weightlifting. Leave a like, share, comment what your stories are in the space of Olympic weightlifting, or anything that you are into fitness about. And hopefully we'll see you in the next video. All right.